Welcome back. All right, I want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas fans, fear not. This is not about jinxing anybody. This is not about a team playing well. This is about the fact that right now we're talking a lot about a lot of teams that are contending teams. I don't feel like Vegas gets a lot of attention. And when I was looking at the betting odds, Vegas isn't getting a lot of attention there either. So they're not seen at this point as a top contender. Dallas and Colorado get all that oxygen in the West when people aren't talking about Winnipeg. And in the East, of course, you've got Washington, you've got Florida. Tampa's going to be considered a contender because of their previous success. And so, kind of lost in the mix, Vegas. Vegas behind Carolina in the odds, too. And yet, should they be? So tonight, Vegas is in Chicago. Now, they had a very highly entertaining game the last time these two teams played. I expect another entertaining game this time out. Then tomorrow, they're in Nashville. Nashville, the NP on that secondary logo now stands for no problem, usually. Although, this is where the asterisk could come in too, that the Nashville Predators have played well against really good teams. That's generally been the case this season, so you can't take them lightly. It's second half of back-to-back as well. Then Vegas comes home and they play against the Edmonton Oilers on Tuesday, and then on Thursday they're at home against Winnipeg. So it's a busy schedule. Then on Saturday, the 5th of April, they're in Calgary. The next night, they're in Vancouver, so busy. Then they come home on the Tuesday, or no, they're still on the road on the Tuesday in Denver against Colorado. That's the 8th of April. Then they come home on the Thursday and play against Seattle. They play against Nashville on Saturday the 12th, which, there's not a lot of days in between here. Then they have a couple of days off before playing in Calgary on the 15th, which is a Tuesday night, and then their season rounds out on the Wednesday, which is the 16th. The playoffs will be starting on Saturday, the 19th of April. My guess is Vegas probably plays on that first day because their last day of the regular season in terms of games is on the Wednesday. I'll be very surprised if we don't see teams that have had a couple days off end up being brought in to play that first night of National Hockey League action on April 19th. Now, what Vegas is trying to do is avenge how last season ended, right? They lost in the first round against Dallas in 7 games in the first round. And a lot of that, there were a lot of factors, and a lot of people pointed out Stone. Oh no, Stone, the thing with Mark Stone, the reality with Mark Stone was he wasn't playing great. Wasn't playing great hockey in that playoff series, and it's part of the reason that Vegas gets knocked out. Stone was not at 100%. But the previous year, of course, Vegas won the Stanley Cup. That's why I'm kind of surprised there's not more attention being paid to the Vegas Golden Knights than there is currently, and that the odds don't have them with a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup. It could come down to who their playoff opponent is in the first round. So if they win the division, going to end up against the number 1 wild card, which right now is Minnesota, but St. Louis is breathing right down the neck of the Minnesota Wild. And if you're Vegas, I think you want Minnesota instead of St. Louis, even though Minnesota come playoff time should have Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek back. They should have a better lineup. But if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, I think that's probably a better matchup than the red-hot St. Louis Blues, who have a ton of confidence. They're winning a bunch of games. I think St. Louis is a nightmare in the first round for either Vegas or Winnipeg, to be completely honest. I think this is a team that's just playing so darn well. And once the playoffs start, that does change. That's why I don't do power rankings in the playoffs, because things change. And a playoff series is not the same as a regular season at all. But I would not want St. Louis. Just saying that. So there is always the chance that they lose that 5-point lead against the Kings, but it's not likely. And you look at the upcoming schedule, they should be able to win a lot of these games, or at least enough of them to stay atop the division. So looking at this month's scoring, Jack Eichel has been fantastic. 12 games, 7 goals, 13 assists, 20 points. So he's rounding into playoff form at exactly the right time of year. Hurdle, 11 games, 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points. There has to be some concern about how long Hurdle might be out and what kind of shape he'll be in when he comes back. They don't need Hurdle to play at 50% of his ability. They're going to need his goal scoring in the playoffs to have some chance of success. Stone, 12 games, 3 goals, 10 assists, 13 points. Mark Stone's remarkably reliable when in the lineup. Hanifin, 12 games, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points. I think Hanifin's playing the best hockey he's played this season. Dorofeev, 12 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points, a 30-goal season for Dorofeev. And in the absence of Hurdle, maybe we see Dorofeev getting some more goals until Hurdle returns. Saad, 12 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. Saad was a very shrewd pickup by the Vegas Golden Knights when the Blues bought out his contract. And it seems like it's been mutually beneficial. I think Saad's looked better in Vegas than he did in St. Louis before the buyout. Buyout meaning that they terminated the contract. I'm just so used to using the term buyout that I use it for the terminations of contracts as well. Tanner Pearson, 11 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. I'm so happy to see Tanner Pearson playing in the National Hockey League this season. And I'm glad that after all the injury concerns he had in Vancouver, that now he's playing almost every game. Barbashev, 11 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. I think they want more goals from Barbashev than what they've had recently. And who knows? Once again, with Hurdle out, maybe Barbashev ends up jumping into that role. Pietrangelo, 11 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. And Pietrangelo and Barbashev are two reasons why a battle between St. Louis and Vegas in the first round could be fun. And Brendan Saad's above that too. So you'd have a lot of former Blues against that Vegas team. Yeah, that could make it highly entertaining. Nick Roy, 12 games, 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 points. Raw's underrated offensively in the National Hockey League. We know he's a good two-way forward, but I think his offense is a little bit underrated. Raw's the kind of guy that if he went to, say, a team like Seattle or a team that's, like a San Jose, you would see a lot more points and goals, and I think you'd be surprised just how good he can be. But he's the perfect player for the role that he plays in Vegas as well. Shea Theodore's just played the one game, had 1 assist. Getting Theodore back is really key. Olofsson's production's fallen off. He's only played 9 games this month. He has no points in those 9 games. If Olofsson could turn that on and get things going into the playoffs, that would be good for them as well. The goaltending has really been a strength during Vegas's really good run in the month of March. Hill, 6-1-1 this month with a .930 save percentage. His save percentage for the season is .908. And Samsonov's been good too. 2-1-1 this month, a .922 save percentage. He has an .892 save percentage on the season. So the goaltending's working. And the overall numbers for this team are strong. So they're scoring 3.75 goals per game in the month of March. On the season, it's 3.39. So they're scoring above their average. And they're allowing way fewer goals. And this is where the goaltending comes in, right? They're only allowing 2 goals per game this month. Their average is 2.65. So Vegas is rounding into form at exactly the right time of year and seemingly under the radar. Their power play's been fantastic, 42.3%. On the season, it's 30.1%. Their penalty kill is still a work in progress, and it's actually got worse this month. 70.8% this month. On the season, it's 75.9%. So they're going to want to improve that, especially if they're going to be against a team like the Blues in the first round. Or, hey, Minnesota, if they got Kaprizov back, your penalty kill has to be really, really strong. Now, the scoring by period. It's interesting because we've talked a lot about their scoring in the third period. That's still a thing, but not as dramatically different as in other parts of the season. So this month, they've scored 14 goals in the first period and allowed 4. On the season, they've scored 72 and allowed 56. So in the first period, they're being a lot more stingy with allowing goals, which is good for them because that means you're going to be more likely to be leading early in the game. Second period, scoring 13 and allowing 8, so the long change doesn't bother them. But on the season, it has. 71 goals scored, 66 goals against. So they've improved their play in that second period. Third period, they've scored 18 goals and allowed 11. On the season, 96 goals scored in the third period. They've allowed 61. So things look good for them in any of the 3 periods from first through third. In the overtime, they've allowed a goal, and the only overtime that was decided in overtime. They've scored twice in overtime this season and allowed 5, but that's 3-on-3 overtime. We don't have that in the playoffs. So the first, second, and third should be more indicative of what you're getting from Vegas. And right now, it doesn't matter which period of hockey it is, they're a positive. They're a net positive. During most of the season, you could point and go, well, during the second period, they seem to have more struggles, but this month that hasn't been the case. Now, on the season, if they lead after the first, strong numbers, 24-2-4. If they lead after the second, 28-4-2 is their record. Now, if they trail after the first, don't turn the TV off. They might come back and win. 9-12-2 when they trail after the first. That's a strong number. And if they trail after the second, the number's not bad either. 7-14-2. So comebacks are a way of things, and if they have a lead, they're pretty good at protecting that lead. That's 50. Well, no, you can't combine those numbers. Dano can't do that. 24, 2, and 4 after the first. Dano used to be a nickname I had at a job many, many years ago, and every now and then I'll chastise myself on the set and use that term. But it's Hawaii 5-0 from back in the 70s, Dano. Okay, that Dano. 24, 2, and 4 in the first, 28, 4, and 2 in the second. So, yeah, if they lead after the first period, you can almost turn the game off. I'm trying to combine the numbers. It's not going to work, so well, actually, let's see, 33. It's fine. It's fine. At this point, I'll go into Scott Steiner math if I continue, and we don't need that. Now in hits, this is where it's always interesting to me with Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights, their first year, they really built this reputation for being tough to play against, and the whole misfits thing. But the hitting always fascinated me with Vegas. This was a heavy hitting team. It's not now. They're 26th in hits per 60 minutes. They're 14th in blocks per 60 minutes. So Vegas has really reinvented themselves in recent seasons. More of a skill team now, and it does seem to work for them, as evidenced by the record this month. Now, the overall numbers I wanted to focus on just a little bit here. Jack Eichel rewriting the record book in terms of points in a season by Vegas Golden Knights player. 70 games, 26 goals, 54 assists, 90 points. So he still has a chance at 100 points this season, which would be remarkable because I don't hear a lot of talk about Eichel. I always hear about McDavid, McKinnon. Crosby's going to get a ton of attention because of how productive he is at this point in time. Kucherov gets a lot of attention because of the points he's producing. But Eichel getting 100 points on this team is playing well. I think he deserves at least some consideration for the Hart Trophy, considering how good he is as a two-way forward and how he's evolved. I don't think he gets talked about enough. Howden, 69 games, 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. Howden's been excellent. He's always in the right spot. That's how he gets his 20-goal season. I believe that's the first 20-goal season he's had in his career. If not, it's not a common thing for him. Carlson, 42 games, 7 goals, 14 assists, 21 points. It wouldn't be a Vegas video if I didn't say, hey, Wild Bill is still pretty good. The offense may not be fantastic at this point, but defensively I still think he's a good forward, and that depth down the middle is important. Holtz didn't have the kind of season for Vegas that I'd envisioned. 49 games, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points. But Holtz, should he get into some playoff games? Who knows? Maybe he gets a goal. And Riley Smith, since his return, 3 assists in 10 games. Riley Smith, Carlson, and even Marchessault in Nashville. The Misfits line is not what it was back in 2017, 2018, but which of us are? So, yeah, Smith, waiting for that first goal in his return to Vegas. He's going to get it before the season's done. Might be one to watch come playoff time and see if they put the two Misfits back together and try to rekindle something there. And then there's Keegan Colasar. I feel like deserves some discussion here as well. 71 games, 12 goals, 14 assists, 26 points. Hard-nosed player. And as I mentioned in a video not too long ago, the kind that it feels like will get a key goal at some point in the playoffs. Whether that takes place against Minnesota or St. Louis, I think we could see that happen. Vegas is not going to be an easy outcome playoff time. I will not be surprised if Vegas goes on a run to at least the conference final. Because if you look at their history, at least reaching the conference final has been a thing. And could very well be a thing this year as well. But do not discount either St. Louis or Minnesota if that's their first round opponent. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Where do you think Vegas ends up at the end of this season? Do you think that they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit? Which is weird for a team leading a division, but it feels like there's not as much discussion to them. And I feel like maybe there should be, so here's a video. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.